In today's Leeds news, contracts expire, Leeds push for Suzuki, Struijk's exit with details, Brandt offered to Real Betis, and Klaesson retires. Wednesday, the 1st of July. Jer here at the Leeds View with your Leeds United news. Hope you're all having a really good day so far. Your week is going well. Bit of stuff to get stuck into today. It's July 1st, so it's going to be a busy period now. We can start to look at some serious bids or some serious moves in the transfer market starting to happen. A bit of good news this morning before we get stuck into things. Yesterday, Mick Hewitt, who we said had gone missing in Barcelona, has been found safe and well. So delighted that story ended up all being fine. Also, if you want to check out last night's podcast with Andy Cousins and myself, we were having a chat about the, well, at the time, potential Pascal Struijk move, which then happened an hour after we had finished recording. His next door neighbour as well. So you can get his thoughts on who he thinks should replace him, where Leeds are this summer, what the priorities are, and a bit of a chat about the academy lads as well. And also, if you want to nominate us as our one a week for the Football Content Awards, the link is down below in the description and the QR code is there on the screen if you would like to help us get onto the shortlist for this year's awards. Right, let's crack on, get stuck into the news, and we'll start off with the contracts that expire today. Right, as we say, it is the 1st of July and we are now waiting to see Harry Wilson in an official Leeds United shirt, not an AI generated picture of Wilson's that have been doing the rounds over the last week or so. But outside of Wilson, other contracts have ticked down and expire today without announcements from Leeds. And as always, all of this news, especially during this time of the year, is subject of the time of recording down in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. Illan Meslier is officially no longer a Leeds United player. His contract expires today. There are some talks that he might be heading towards Arsenal should they decide to bring a replacement in if Kepa Azpilicueta decides to move on from the club this summer. I mean, if Leeds are looking for a goalkeeper, I wouldn't say no to Kepa if he can sort his head out. Alex Cairns also has verbally agreed a 2-year deal at the club. That is supposed to kick in from today. However, it is just verbal, and until that gets signed and is officially announced by the club, we'll have to wait and see. Likely just needs a little bit of rubber stamping. Karl Darlow, though, despite reports that he would sign a new 2-year deal, as of this morning, that hasn't been signed and hasn't been announced by the football club. And again, this could just be something that's done in the next day or so. It could be just a case of when he comes back, he'll sign it. It's all been agreed. There could be some form of a deal agreement in place. But yeah, that is one that Leeds will need to get sorted out sooner rather than later. And that might have an impact on something else that we'll get when we talk about Suzuki in a few minutes' time. Also, Sam Byram was offered a new deal by Leeds United. But we know from Sam's podcast last year at the end of the season with the official Leeds United podcast, he wants to play football this year. He believes he can. He believes the body is good and well. So he might be just trying to see if there is opportunities to get first team football next season. And if it doesn't, he might stick around at Leeds United. So we'll have to wait and see. But it is an important 24 hours when it comes to the goalkeeping department for Leeds United. As of right now, the only contracted goalkeeper Leeds United have is Lucas Perry. So we'll have to wait and see. It could just all be a formality. It likely is just a formality. But until we see Alex Cairns and Karl Darlow announced by the club that they have signed new deals, which is likely to happen a half an hour after I put this out, we'll have to wait and see. Speaking of goalkeepers, let's have a chat about Zion Suzuki. So last night, the Zion Suzuki story reached a bit of a new level. Gianluca Di Marzio, who is one of the most respected and reliable transfer journalists when it comes to Italian transfers, put out a tweet that said that Suzuki is the most concrete option for Leeds United in the goalkeeping department this summer. So Di Marzio's report is pretty clear. It's a very short message, but it is unambiguous. It is a case that Leeds want Suzuki. That's the goalkeeper that they want. Straightforward, direct message, no messing around. TEAMtalk, though, locally this morning have added a little bit more important detail around the finances of this, which have been consistently over the last week or so had conflicting reports. There's one report saying it could be anything from 20 to 25 million. It could be anything over 26 million. It could be into the 30s. Some have even said close to 40 million euro. And it depends on which one you look at from a euro or a pound sterling perspective. Gianluigi Longaria put the original post out linking Leeds to the move for Suzuki. He said on X then again that Leeds are trying to close the deal and take advantage of the situation they're in right now. They're ahead of a couple of clubs, and the 49ers would be willing to go beyond the 30 million euro price point with bonuses that are being demanded by Parma at €30 million, about £26.5 million. That might be an important number if Leeds decide to sell a goalkeeper in the future. If this is true, and it is still very much an if at this moment in time, he would shatter Leeds United's record for a goalkeeper signing, which was €16 million last summer by Lucas Perry, and he will have a major part to play in this should they decide to go down this route. The picture on this still isn't entirely straightforward, and we've been here before, literally this time last year with Milinkovic-Savic, and at that time it ended up being nothing. He went off and moved to a different club and didn't end up at Leeds. So when it comes from Italian journalists, I'm always just a little bit sceptical when it comes to Leeds at this time of the year. I am open to be proven wrong, and in this situation, I hope I am. I really do. But Sidney Boswell in Sky Sports has also put out a message this morning. He says the Leeds are waiting on the Karl Darlow situation and whether he signs that new contract or not before they make a decision on their final move for a goalkeeper. So it sounds by Sidney Boswell that if Karl Darlow signs, Leeds may not look at another goalkeeper. And again, we talked to Andy Cousins last night about this, and Andy believes Leeds are well set where they are in the goalkeeping department, and it's not an area that Leeds need to look at improving this summer. That if Karl Darlow is there, we're fine as we are. Graham Smith, also on the Yorkshire Evening Post, has had his say on this. He's described Suzuki as a very ambitious target and won't be easy to get done. Aston Villa, AC Milan and Liverpool, as of today, have been added to the mix, are all said to have made inquiries about a move for Suzuki. So the bottom line on this is still just a link until something formal goes in. As of the time of recording, Leeds United have not submitted a formal bid for the goalkeeper, and there aren't even formal talks taking place between Leeds and Parma as been reported. All of this seems to be coming that Leeds will make a bid, Leeds are interested in, Leeds might speak to Parma, but they appear to have at least spoken to Suzuki's representatives. Di Marzio's involvement in this is interesting though, because it does add some level of credibility to this story. €30 million, which is £26 million, still feels a little bit high for me. But if you were to sell Lucas Perry for £10 million, as the bid that went in January for him was, then you're looking at a net spend of £16 million on a goalkeeper, which is roughly thereabouts he's spent last summer on a goalkeeper. So that could be important context in this situation. He, again, as I said to you the other day, he was very, very good in Japan's World Cup. He was excellent in the game against Brazil. He would be a very good goalkeeper. He's a good age. He's 23 years of age. Could have a long career. Would have sell-on value as well if they decided to bring him in. But again, at this time of the year, we've been here before with this. I don't want to get carried away and say, oh, look, he's a great signing, we should go and get him. You just don't know. You don't know. But we'll see. We'll move on. Let's talk about Pascal Struijk's exit and some more detail on that. So yesterday, Pascal Struijk officially became a Brighton and Hove Albion player, but more details around this deal have come out. Initially, when the deal was announced by The Athletic, it was said to be £20 million, and that seemed like a relatively decent fee for a player with 1 year left on his contract. Some wanted more, some thought it was right. And then Alex Crook in TalkSport and Zinni Boswell in Sky Sports came out and said, well, actually, it's probably 15 million plus 3 million in add-ons, which was a notably less amount of money that irked a few people. I spoke with Adam Pope in BBC yesterday, and Adam confirmed to me that the sources he'd spoken to said it was likely to be more in case of £20 million. Now, as of last night, Beren Cross put out a piece where he said the transfer fee is a fixed £18 million fee plus £2 million in add-ons and has a sell-on clause in the deal as well. Leeds finally putting sell-on clauses in contracts. Now, if you go to the Brighton side of things, it goes back the other way. Brighton sources are continuing to say that it is £15 million plus 3. Now, the reality in the situation here is all of this will be published in the club's accounts this time next year, or January next year. So we'll have to wait, not next year, year after, because we're a year behind. A year after, we'll see it. It'll pop up on that and we'll see who's telling the truth and who's not. Both sides have probably got a reason for either inflating or decreasing the amount of money for their own fan bases. So there's obviously a story behind that as well. But one of the interesting lines in the statement that was put out directly by Leeds United last night was that the sale was needed before the 1st of July to try and help Leeds United just stay compliant with PSR. Now, that sounds a bit unusual because we were all under the impression that Leeds were fine in the PSR situation, and then other people jumped on this straight away and said, well, hang on a second, didn't we try and sign Jurgen Strand Larsen in January? If we were trying to sign a player then how are we so tight on PSR? Graham Smith in the YEP clarified today and said the offer that Leeds had put into Wolves was a loan bid with an obligation to purchase on the 1st of July. Now, at the time of the Jurgen Strand Larsen stuff going around, there were conflicting reports whether Leeds were trying to put in a small amount of money with a larger amount on the 1st of July, or whether it was an agreement where the fee would be paid on the 1st of July, or whether it was a loan. So all of this stuff was kind of floating around at the time. I saw somebody say, well, it's convenient Graham has that information now. I would say it's less than convenient for Graham that information is only coming out now. Either way, it doesn't really matter. Struijk is heading off to Brighton, and Leeds will have either £18 million in their pocket or £15 million in their pocket, depending on the reality of the situation, which we'll find out in the future, to spend in this summer's transfer window. So, either way, best of luck to Pascal Struijk. Wish him nothing but success. Just go easy against Leeds. He's heading into his peak years. Clearly he wants European football as well. So, we wish him nothing but success down at Brighton. Right, move on. Let's talk about Julian Brandt. So Leeds' hope of a deal for Julian Brandt took a real hit yesterday when Spanish outlet Mucho Deporte reported that Julian Brandt's agent was seen leaving Real Betis' offices, and it was believed that they had been offering Brandt to the Spanish side. Now, Brandt's father visited Real Betis' offices in person yesterday, and that signals a serious and a organised approach from his representatives to try and push a deal through to get him to Real Betis. The context in this is they have Champions League football next year. He's likely to want Champions League football, and his partner has a place in Spain, so there's clearly some connections there. Now, the report does go on to say, though, that Real Betis are well stocked in that position. They've got Isco, Giovanni Lo Celso, and Pablo Fornals as well. So at the moment, the report states that Real Betis don't have any interest in Julian Brandt. Now, there's two sides to this. On one hand, this is a problem because it clearly shows that his representatives, his father, are offering the clubs that he clearly has a preference in going to. The other side of this is it removes a club from the equation and maybe makes the shortlist a little bit shorter and might help Leeds United to get him. But it's not a great sign that his representatives are actively offering him to other clubs. It shows that even if Leeds do have an offer on the table, it's not a priority offer for his representatives right now. And we go all the way back to when this story first came out, and it was described as an ambitious move by Leeds United that would be difficult to get done. He clearly wants European football. He clearly feels that he can still play at that level right now, and he doesn't clearly fancy a move to the Premier League, at least right now. It could change if there is no other interest. So he's playing the field right now, but yeah, not great to see his representatives literally going to a club and offering the player to them when Leeds have got an offer on the table. But again, look, we'll see what happens. I don't care if he's been offered to other clubs. If he ends up in a Leeds United shirt, I'll be delighted with that. But anyway, yeah, we'll see where we go. Let's move on to talk about Chris Klaesson. Last from the past, and some sad news that came out yesterday afternoon. Former Leeds United goalkeeper Christopher Klaesson has announced his retirement from football at the very young age of just 25. Klaesson spent 3 years at Leeds United. He joined in 2021 from Vålerenga for £1.5 million. But his contract was mutually terminated in 2024. What followed after that was a fairly difficult period for the young goalkeeper. He headed off to Krakow in Poland, and that didn't go well. There were reports of weight issues and fitness issues. He'd been pictured at a McDonald's, and 2 months into his deal there, that was terminated by the club because of the fitness issues. He then moved off to Denmark to play for AGF. He only made one senior appearance there before then joining Viking in Norway, where he made 14 appearances, and I believe he picked up a trophy while he was there as well. In January 2026, he made the move to Iceland and signed a 3-year deal that he has now decided to walk away from. He seemed to have a very promising career ahead of him. He had a couple of senior appearances for Leeds United. I don't think he conceded a goal when he played for Leeds, so he looked like he'd have a decent career, at least at some level moving forward. He's obviously decided there are better options for him out there, or football just isn't for him anymore. The weight stuff has kind of followed him around for a while. He's had issues with the fans, mocking fans about mocking his weight and vice versa. So yeah, it's an interesting one. It hasn't turned out for him the way we all thought it would. It was good, was fine for Leeds. Had his issues, as all young goalkeepers do, but seemed like a decent young goalkeeper that eventually, when he got to his peak years, would turn out to be a very steady goalkeeper. Not to be the case, he has retired. He might roll back on that in the future, but as of right now, he has retired. So best of luck with whatever you do, Chris. But yeah, sad news today to see somebody retiring from football at a very, very young age. Folks, that'll be it for me today. We'll have Andrea Russo on a podcast special either tonight or tomorrow night. Keep an eye out for that if you want it. And also you can check out last night's podcast with Andy Cuz, which will be linked over there on the side. And if you want to nominate us for the Football Content Award, QR code is down below and the link is in the description if you haven't got a QR code scanner. Would really appreciate that. Have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you later. See you. Bye.